Thanks for checking out our video. Feel free to join our free weekly newsletter called Pop Culture Annotated, and also join our Discord server to talk with us and others that share your fandom in pop culture entertainment. Links in the description. Hey everybody, how's it going? So now that Avengers Endgame is finally out, the directors, writers, producers behind the movie, both for Infinity War and Endgame, are finally doing press junkets, finally doing press interviews, where they talk spoilers and they kind of reveal more of the behind the scenes original plans for certain parts of each film. And one thing that was really interesting to me was the alternate directions, the different takes, deleted scenes, whatever you want to call it, for both Infinity War and Endgame, considering certain characters are supposed to appear that obviously did not appear in the final versions, and at the same time, certain characters that we eventually did receive in the film, sometimes they were projected to come on a different way. For example, the Hulk. We saw him in a lot of Infinity War trailers and everyone got really excited. They thought he would emerge in the Battle of Wakanda from the Hulkbuster armor, but he never did. And instead we got a very quick reasoning for that in Avengers Endgame, where we were introduced not to Bruce Banner, but from the get-go, Professor Hulk. Now, according to the writers of the film, they say that there was a time where Banner became Smart Hulk in Avengers Infinity War instead of Endgame. And it was a lot of fun for them when they were writing it, but it just seemed like it was the wrong moment. And they say it happened in Wakanda, and basically his arc was approached and designed like, I'm not getting along with the Hulk won't come out, and then eventually they'll compromise and become Smart Hulk during the Battle of Wakanda. From what the Russo brothers have said in different interviews, it definitely sounds like this was something very last minute with regards to taking the Hulk out of the film, which would explain why he was not only in a bunch of toy sets, in a bunch of Lego sets, but also in a lot of the original trailers for the film, making a lot of people think that, the Hulk would come back and ideally get his round 2 against Thanos that we never received. Now, another thing that was interesting was Hawkeye's family was originally going to be killed in Infinity War instead of Endgame. Now, presumably this would have been maybe alongside of all the other people that were being snapped. They just cut to Hawkeye's farm, they show Hawkeye's family, just like we did in Endgame, being dusted. Now, it would make sense because they did film it all together, so it's not like they didn't have the footage at the time, but they eventually took it out because, as they put it, Hawkeye wasn't in the entirety of Infinity War, so it just kind of felt out of place. The exact quote, however, is, "There was a time where we contemplated having that archery scene in the first movie after the snap. You snap, then you pop into Clint's farm, what are we watching?" And that's the first indication that this had a true wider effect. But he literally had not been in the movie prior to that point, so we felt it didn't really work. It's cool, but it's going to be a little too blunt for the brutality of what Thanos did. Now, I understand where they're going with that. I think it definitely works better having that in the beginning of Endgame, considering, Hawkeye wasn't really in Infinity War, so I definitely think Infinity War didn't need to show that, especially considering, Endgame definitely did focus a lot more on Hawkeye as a member than probably would have ever been able to with Infinity War and all the craziness going on there. While I get that, I don't really think that it's too much with the brutality of what Thanos did. Now, they talk about Captain Marvel. Basically, Captain Marvel was always going to be gone for a majority of the film. As they put it, she's been in space nearly half her life. She has obligations there. Another one that I think we've covered before here on the channel is the Living Tribunal nearly being in Infinity War, and they said that they tried putting him in the first movie and he would have appeared basically during the Titan fight, and it would have been a moment where everyone's like, whoa, this dude has 3 heads. It would have indicated a whole different level of architecture, as they put it, in the MCU, and overall they kind of took it out because they felt like it would just be too much to throw in there. I agree with that. I think introducing cosmic entities isn't too much, but I think jumping the gun and going all the way to Living Tribunal from the get-go, I definitely think that would have been a bit too much. I feel like it's one of those things where you kind of have to set more of the cosmic hierarchy up more, besides just a reference in Doctor Strange, which was more of a throwaway reference. It wasn't really a massive reference where they were kind of really teasing the Living Tribunal's place in the cosmic multiverse or anything like that. One thing that really interests me with regards to kind of scenes that were alternate takes or originally planned to be differently was during the time heist moments where they're going to go to different timelines, different places in the MCU's past to get the various Infinity Stones. One moment would have had Tony Stark going to Asgard during the events of Thor: The Dark World. And as they put it, there's a moment in the MCU, if you're paying very close attention, where the Aether is there and the Tesseract is in the vault. In that iteration, we were interested in having Tony go to Asgard in a stealth suit so he would appear invisible, but he would have fought Heimdall, who could see him, and potentially maybe Heimdall would have thought he was a dark elf, considering the dark elves did have that cloaking-like technology. Now this would have been definitely really cool. Talk about having Natalie Portman's Jane Foster back as well, and they talked about having other characters return, like Robert Redford's character, and they say, you know, they went to the Triskelion at one point to get the Tesseract, and then somebody was going to get into a car and drive to Doctor Strange's house. So definitely a lot of different takes for how they were going to do certain scenes. Would have been really cool to see. I definitely, out of all these, would have enjoyed seeing not only the Living Tribunal on the MCU front, but definitely Iron Man going to Asgard. I think that would have been really cool, and maybe, who knows, we could have gotten a Uru metal suit or something like that. But comment below your thoughts. What do you guys think about this? And we'll see you guys later.